It's the end of week 3, our final show. Sadly, it'll soon be time for us to go.
But before we do, we'll fill the hour with extraordinary drama and animals with superpower.
As well as live cameras for us all to see. So welcome to the Springwatch finale!
On Springwatch this year, we've had plenty of wildlife, certainly not a smidgen. Oh, what's that? At the top of that tree, I believe it is a wood pigeon. I told you, pigeons in poetry, you see.
Oh, but Chris, apparently the most popular bird in poetry was the crow. It inspired lots of poets. Quite why, I do not know.
Should we leave the poetry to the laureates?
I think we should. I think
Shelley,
we should.
all of that lot, and get on with the show. Yes, hello and welcome to Springwatch 2018. It's the final programme this year, coming from the National Trust Sherborne Park Estate, bathed in beautiful sunshine. We've got T-shirt. Well, I've got a T-shirt. Candace covered hers with a jacket, always playing safe as she is. We've had a great season this year, though. Lots of fantastic things, and now they're ringing the bells to celebrate our departure. So they're doing bang on cue. Thank you very much. It's been really good. I'm very pleased to say that Gillian is back with us after your fantastic tour, Gillian. We're somewhat envious of that, particularly the weather. Well, you were sat there in sunshine in the Shetlands and in Yorkshire. We're down here shivering in fleeces.
I know, a heat wave in Shetland. I'm
Was
sorry.
a heat wave.
You had a vest on in Yorkshire and we were seriously in our puffer jackets, but it's great to see you here anyway. It's really lovely to see you here. Patrick's still with us as well, and today he's drawn the cute card.
That's right, I had the opportunity to meet and release a very adorable dormouse.
Well, Gillian, while you've been away, you know, all over the country, there has been so much drama here in Sherborne. I mean, we have been on the edge of our seats. There's been loads of jeopardy. It hasn't stopped.
Sounds like mayhem.
It's been exhausting, actually. And clearly, nobody told our cast of wildlife characters that today was the last show. It's supposed to wind down and it's all supposed to be a happy ending. Because let me tell you, the last 24 hours have been hectic for some of our birds. Let's start off with our great tit family and let's have a look at the live camera. What can you see in there, Gillian?
That looks like an empty nest.
It is an empty nest apart from that unhatched egg, of course. So what happened to our chicks? I'm pleased to tell you that they started to fledge at 7:51 this morning. And Chris, I did say it. I said they'd fledge today.
September the 43rd or something.
I got the timing wrong. I was hoping they'd do it live on the show. But yes, they fledged today. So that was the first one gone, followed by another 2. And then 6 minutes later, the 4th one left, leaving our little runty that we called Plucky alone in the nest. Smaller than the other birds, not as well developed. Look! Frantically flapping those wings, trying to get out. Did it get out? Well, yes, it did. 2 hours later, there's little Plucky, looking all fluffy. He's chirping away, which isn't a good idea. Look what happens. Oh! The jay comes in. But I'm pleased to tell you that Plucky managed to retreat into the nest quick enough. But watch what happens next. The jay goes into the top of the nest. And look at Plucky. He survives by the length of a beak. It was touch and go. Oh my goodness, it's exhausting, isn't it? And then he manages to get out of the nest. Starts chirping again, so we were extremely worried when we were watching Plucky because we thought that jay would come back. But I am extremely pleased to tell you that it didn't. And as far as we know, I should be so lucky, Plucky.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Managed, you've got to get a Kylie reference in somewhere, managed to get out of the nest, and for that, I'm going to give it a celebratory
Bang
bit
goes
of
all
good
the while.
news at the start of the show.
Honestly. Well, OK, so Plucky is currently lucky and he's out, along with the others, actually. So, yes, if he can get off the ground tonight, I think it should be good. We've had some great nests, though, this year. Absolutely fantastic nests to watch. Gillian, any favourites you've been watching from afar?
Oh, that's like asking what my favourite song is. I don't know. Yellow Wagtail, Tree Creeper. That was a lovely one as well.
Both of those are good.
Yeah.
Mind you, we've had long-eared owl, probably first time globally. We had goshawk, really impressive bird, very impressive bird indeed. But we've also been following some of the commoner species, and you don't have to be big and impressive to have that drama, because our chaffinches finally delivered. Watch this. You see, they had a nest full of young, and now look, this is live at the chaffinch's nest, which only yesterday was full of chicks, and now it's empty. So what was going on today in Chaffinchville? Well, at lunchtime today, the female, who was doing all the feeding, came in, started to feed them. Then she gives out a little alarm call. You see the chicks hunker down. She flees the nest immediately, and then, leaping in, comes a stoat from nowhere. We hadn't seen any stoats at all. It makes short work of all of the chicks. It rapidly dispatches them, kills with a neck bite, and of course there's little, opposition from these chaffinch chicks. Darts down the side, immediately comes back for the next chick there. Remember, there were 4 in the nest. You can hear the adult alarm calling at the whole time. Stoat comes back again. It's got a larder full of food that it's just found. It's not going to waste any of that. Eventually takes all the chicks away. That took about 4 minutes. Comes back to double check that there were no chicks left in the nest at all. Then, of course, after a period, the adult thinks it's safe enough to go and have a look. Nothing there. Beak full of food. We've seen this so often, but look at this. One of our cameramen went the other side of the hedge and actually spotted the stoat carrying the chicks away. And here it is, with another one of those chaffinch chicks, taking it away, no doubt, of course, taking it back to its own nest to feed its own young. Who would have thought it? And that's what the real joy of Springwatch is. We're able to put our cameras onto nests and observe things that in a lifetime of watching, a lifelong period of being a dedicated naturalist, you could never see yourself, because we can't stand there non-intrusively. We can't watch them 24 hours a day. So to see something like that is an extraordinary highlight.
I know it's an extraordinary thing, but I'm not sure joy was quite the chosen word to use there. I'd say it's a bit of a trauma. I mean, it's been non-stop.
I'm not sure my nose can handle it, actually, but no.
I mean, it has been non-stop drama. I've told you it was, and it certainly has been. Bit of good news, though, for our reed warblers, and let's have a look at them.
Buntings.
Reed buntings, in fact. So reed buntings. We left one in the nest yesterday. What happened to it? I'm pleased to tell you that it fledged. So at least it's good news for them. All 4, we think, successfully fledged.
Now, if you have been watching over the last couple of weeks, you know there's been enormous drama with our little owls and our blackbirds. To sum it up very concisely, in one of the barns was a little owl's nest with 3 young. Nesting around the corner was a pair of blackbirds, initially with 4 young. The little owl took 2 of those. Another blackbird built its nest adjacent to the little owl's nest in another part of the farm structure. The little owls found it, they went to it and took out 2 of the youngsters and carried them back to the nest. What's happened since then? Well, last night, the remaining dead youngster in the nest was taken away by the owl. So it remembered where the nest was. It knew that there was some food there. You can hear the adult blackbird complaining, and the owl fetches the dead chick, carries it across the farmyard and straight into its nest, where, of course, it's gladly received by the chicks. What about that final chick, the one that had got out of the nest alive, at only 9 days old? Well, look at this. It had found a little hidey hole for itself amongst the bales. And it spent the day down in this hidey hole, being provisioned by both parents. Both blackbirds were coming in. The minute it was fed, it slunk back into the shadows, out of the sight of any potential predator. Well, I'm very pleased to say that we can go live now to the barn. We're going to be keeping an eye. It's just nipped behind the hay because that young blackbird has come out of the hidey hole, and it's now, there it is. It's trying to fly up into the roof of the barn. There it is, there it is. This is that last remaining blackbird. But rather than stay in the hole, Michaela, rather than stay in its little straw bunker, it's actually come out onto the tops of the bales. And of course, as we've said before, this is exactly the time of night that the little owls become active and start to hunt. So we will be keeping an eye on that little blackbird throughout the course of the programme.
Gillian and I think that one's a survivor.
Yeah, I'm going to put money on survivor.
I'm going to do a tentative for it.
It's going to need more help than a little peep out of your horn, I can say. After all of that excitement, I think we should slow things down a bit and have a considered piece of film. Now, this is an extremely eloquent, an extremely evocative, a very poignant look at the coast of Scotland by one of our cameramen, Mr. Sadler.
Scotland. A basalt giant with a granite heart and eyes of slate. There are many paths and places to explore in this wild landscape. For me, most lead to the coast. I can hear the Atlantic calling. And on our shores lies the ancient kingdom of Dalriada and the islands of the Hebrides. These islands hold a special place in my heart, and although the wrath of the Atlantic can be testing at times, these islands can also appear more Caribbean than Caledonian. Go deep and find silence. Feel the power and the peace of this wild place. The restless Atlantic cares not for your worries, your hopes, your fears. The great tensions and pains of this world don't touch its depths. When I go to the water, I feel the freedom of that place. The joy a seal shows reveling in its kelp kingdom is infectious. To look into the eye of a dolphin and see an intelligence there as deep as the sea through which he soars. To be in such a place makes me not scared. In place of fear, I feel alive. I dive deep into the world and am free. There is a being in these isles that is almost as mythic as Kelpies, Selkies, Great Fingal himself. Kerban, basking shark, the second biggest in any ocean. The French call them pilgrims, the Germans giants. How apt, as every new year sees these great pilgrims return to Scotland's west coast, mouths wide in planktonic praise. Asking what it feels like to be alive, and I say, you will not know until you've witnessed such an animal with your own eyes. Felt insignificant beside its great bulk. Titans in their watery cathedrals. And we can but stare wide-eyed and heart-racing. A leviathan of myth, made real. I wouldn't be who I am without the sea. Life lessons, life lessons, lessons in humility. Ego drowned in the vastness of its springy depths. I can't remember when we first met, but that great ocean road has led me on many an adventure. Even in this land I know so well, there is always somewhere new to explore on our shattered coastline. Here at the edge of the map, there are treasures to be found, a different kind of gold and silver. Here there be no monsters, but wonders.
An absolutely beautiful film, and it actually had a very profound effect on me. When I watched it earlier, it made me cry, and I think it's because of that last line. Here there be no monsters, but wonders. And of course, there are the most beautiful wonders in the sea, but they're being threatened by the monster that is plastic pollution. And although Luke showed us so many of the wonderful wildlife that you can see in the oceans, he also saw some of the horrors of plastic and how it's affecting our marine wildlife. And here's one of the photographs. Now look at this, this is a basking shark, and you can see it's got some sort of plastic hoop around its nose, and of course that's going to cause it untold problems.
Yeah, that's not going to go away without any intervention. That will stay on that animal and cause huge amounts of distress. And the thing about basking sharks is their behavior actually brings them into contact with lots of plastic. They're filter feeders, they trawl the water, they actually filter 1,800 tons of water an hour, and in so doing they take in, it's estimated, 540 items of microplastics every hour, and that's a huge amount.
It's a huge amount, isn't it? Absolutely huge amount. He also sent us this photograph as well, and this is a seal that he's spotted, and you can see it's got some sort of rope around its neck. And I mean, we've seen stuff like this before, haven't we, Gillian?
I mean, I see a lot of this in Cornwall where I live. The seals, again, their behavior draws them to plastic. They're very curious animals, they're playful, and when they see plastic floating around, they engage with it, they go to it, they twirl with it, roll with it, and they get entangled. So that's, again, you know, a way that they come into contact with this.
Well, we've got a photo exactly of that here. I mean, this is a frisbee around the neck of this poor seal here. And of course, you know, they continue to grow, and then that gets really, that chokes them almost, doesn't it?
It's painful to watch,
terrible.
isn't it?
We've got a lot of pictures. Some of these are iconic. I mean, this one with the cotton bud with the seahorse wrapped round it, and we've seen this plastic in some of the nests that we've shown on Springwatch, and of course our seabirds.
Yeah, well, this is, again, when we were up in Shetland, we saw so much of this. Birds, I mean, that's a puffin, but we saw gannets gathering plastic for nesting material and, again, becoming entangled.
I mean, this one's really sad. They reckon about 1 million seabirds are found dead because of plastic, and that's an estimate, and who knows how many, because those are just the ones we find. There's another one there. This one's really sad. Look at this. This is a squirrel that's got its head stuck in some sort of building material. I mean, that really is a shocking photograph. Our long-eared owls with plastic in their nests there. It's all shocking stuff. But, you know, sometimes we need to be shocked to be woken up to the problem.
That's right. However, there are people out there doing, not just people, organisations, amazing campaigners. And we have an example of one individual, a lady called Katrina Slack, who decided to do something about it in her own way. And she's gathered huge amounts of plastic off the beaches where she lives in Cornwall, and has made these lovely sculptures of animals that are affected by marine plastics. This one is kind of my favourite, actually. I love this one. But this is sad as well, because this is all fishing gear and plastic all intertwined. So yeah, it's an amazing way to use science and art to try and get this message out there.
I think they're absolutely fabulous. Not only are they beautiful, but as you say, they're raising awareness to the problem. They're very eye-catching. But it's not just Katrina that's using plastic art to make people aware. Just take a look at this. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is from Ivor Buchanan, who's 5 years old.
I saw on television some animals got caught in plastic. Yeah, seahorses and turtles and all sorts.
Go on then. We're going to do this
We're
one.
making it so everyone who sees it knows to recycle it.
Hey, there we go.
Don't you just love him? Isn't he absolutely gorgeous? And that plastic seahorse that he made, that was made by him and his friends. He didn't do that all by himself. But you know, it's great that all this awareness that is going on is inspiring people. It's inspired a lot of kids at school, not just from our programme, but also from the school programme in the afternoon, which is Springwatch Wild Academy. And loads of kids have got involved in clearing up their beaches. Here's a picture of one of them in particular. And look at this little kid. He's 4 years old, Darwin. And he's got his little rubbish picker, you know, those litter collectors. And he didn't do that all by himself, but that was a big clean-up that they did. And look, here's another one. And this is great because this school, this is Wood and Water Primary School, and they've all decided to ditch their single-use plastic bottles and use reusable ones. And as I keep banging on, that's what it's all about. Reduce, reuse, recycle. But we've all got to be responsible for the plastic pollution problem, and we've all got to try and make a difference. Keep it up, all of you that are.
Keep it up. It's not just plastic that affects the environment. Having the right habitat is also crucial, as Chris went to investigate in Northern Ireland.
It's a nice modern estate. Nice windows, doors, brickwork. Well, nice if you're a human, but from a bird's point of view, it feels like I'm walking through some sort of avian zombie apocalypse. There's not a sparrow, there's not a starling, and there's certainly no swifts. You see, there's no nooks, there's no crannies, there's no little gaps for these birds to get into. So there might be plenty of food up there in the air, but there's nowhere to nest down here. Nowhere at all. You see, these changes in our modern building practices are partly responsible for swift numbers halving in the last 20 years. But there are things that we can do to help. And to find out more, I've come to Antrim in Northern Ireland to meet Swift saviour Rodney Monteith. He's the head gardener at Caffrey Greenmount campus, and he's dedicated the last 10 years to installing over 30 nesting spaces around this site.
So you can see up here, yes, these little round holes. Some have got these preformed cement discs that you can buy online, and then the other ones are little holes just in the stonework.
The first thing that strikes me, Rodney, is these are much lower than I'd imagined. When I see swifts nesting, typically they're double the height of this.
Yeah, well, the recommended height for any swift nest is 5 metres, and that's really to allow the bird to drop out and gain speed to escape from its nest site. That's on the lower limit, although there are swifts nesting at head height.
OK, but I can see obviously the frontage here.
Yes.
Of these pre-made things. What's behind it?
The inside, Chris, is really, really simple. All it is a bit of plastic pipe, like a builder's pipe, and that's set into the stonework of the wall. And within that, then, I put a bed of mortar to allow the swifts to actually grip as they crawled in. That's really all it is. And then, as you can see on the outside, we have these preformed discs, and they're on the front like this, and that's your hole.
You see, I've always wondered how a swift gets into a tiny, relatively tiny hole like this, flying at the speed that they do when they approach it. I'd like to witness firsthand a swift bombing into one of these head first, and then try and figure out in my mind how it doesn't hit the bat and just splatter. And with the help of a high-speed camera, we can do exactly that. As the swift approaches the nesting hole, it swings its feet forward, tucks its wings in, and slides gracefully into the entrance. A precision landing by anyone's standards. And this bird is also pretty good in the air too. Now, I'm sure we all know that the fastest bird on the planet is the peregrine falcon, stooping at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. But when I was a kid, in my bird books, it said that the fastest birds in level flight were sea ducks. But I'd look out of my bedroom window at the swifts coming by and think, you've got to be joking. These things are flying much faster than some grotty old eider. Tonight, we're going to find out the truth. I've got a speed gun, and boy, I love a gadget and a challenge. So I'm going to stand here as the swifts come in, press my little button, a la PC Plod, and see exactly how fast these swifts are flying. Right, here's one now. Right, one sort of allied through then at 25 miles an hour. I know they can go faster than that. 33. That little scream by there gave us a 33. Come on, come on. Here comes a bird, here comes a bird, here comes a bird. Oh, another 33. Possibly the same swift. I couldn't get the registration plate on that, it was a bit fast. Come on. Ooh, getting better. Up to 37. Come on, swifts, one more go. There's 3 of them here now. Come. 50! Yes! I knew it. 50 miles an hour for a flyby there. And when I cast my mind back to those days with those childhood bird books, you know, sea ducks in level flight, 40 to 45 miles an hour. So the swift is swifter. But that, I'm afraid, is not the world record. They've been recorded flying at 69.34 miles an hour in level flight. The swift, surely the fastest bird in level flight. And if you put swift bricks up around your house, in your community, like Rodney has here, you could have these birds speeding around your house at near motorway speed. Fantastic. 50. Great fun.
You look like you were having fun. In fact, I reckon that you probably wanted to be a traffic cop when you were a little boy. I could see you giving tickets out to people that have been speeding.
Well, I didn't want to be one. I've met a few, but we won't go into that at this point.
But as Chris and Rodney said, we do need more swift boxes being put up. And they don't have to be as elaborate as Rodney's. In fact, you can buy them like this. There's a swift box that you can get off the internet, about 25 to 30 pounds, and find a little nook or cranny that you can put that up on the wall for the swifts to fly into. They've actually put boxes just like this up here at Sherborne. As you can see there, they're up in the eaves. They need to be at least 5 metres up so those swifts can get that lift as they fly out. And if you've got a swift box, but you've got no swifts in it, obviously it can be very disappointing, but there is a way that you can encourage them in, and you can play the recorded sound of swifts, and then they think there might be a colony around, and they come to investigate, and then they'll go in your nest boxes, and then you'll create a colony. So again, you can sort of download that sort of thing off the internet as well.
Yeah, and pump it out. We can listen to some now. There we are.
Can we hear that? And we heard that in the film as well. So that's the sound that you need to play.
First thing in the morning, apparently.
First thing in the morning, and
Yeah.
then hopefully you will attract swifts to your swift nest boxes.
Another thing that some people do, I have to say, because the boxes are often taken over by starlings and sparrows, is that they block up the holes with corks until the beginning of May, when most of the swifts are meant to be back, and then they take the corks out so that the swifts can get in swiftly and get in there before the sparrows and starlings
Must
get
be
in.
such a joy to have them as
Yeah,
watch them
it was
in.
interesting. Those swifts that we were looking at Greenmount College there had been tagged by a RSPB and BTO project that they're running. So they've got tiny little data loggers put on their back. These tiny devices weigh just a gram. They don't interfere with the bird's behaviour, its flight or anything like that. They store the information so you can't retrieve it, it's not transmitting. But when the swift comes back to its nest site, then you can harvest that information and learn a lot about them. And what they've learned, I can show you on this. So let's look first up here. Here's the college campus, Greenmount College campus up here. And what they see is that many of the swifts that are here are flying about a mile out, and they're feeding over Loch Ney here, which is fresh water, and there are lots of insects there. But they were also tagging swifts at the same time in Belfast down here. But look, this is interesting. The swifts in Belfast are flying all the way across the country to feed over the same body of fresh water. They're not feeding out here in the countryside. They're obviously not going to the Irish Sea, which is salt water. So this is a distance of 15 miles, which means it's a 30-mile round trip. Why are they going so far to get food out here? Well, we think that it's because there's not much food left over the countryside. Two rather significant studies published recently, one in Germany and one in France, have shown that in the last 20 to 30 years, we've endured a 75% reduction in the amount of flying insects over our countryside. So it could be that the swifts are journeying, especially now, at great personal cost, 30-mile round trip, to get the food over the fresh water. I've got some other data here. Now, these are the breeding bird survey results from the British Trust for Ornithology, and each one of these graphs shows a different part of the UK. And what we see is, look, all of them are declining. So from 1995 to 2015, what we're seeing is a decline in the number of breeding swifts. And as I said in the film, they've gone down by about 51% in the last 20 years. But there's one exception. Look at this one here for the East Midlands. The swifts start to decline, and the little blip, and then they've started to go back up again. And there is a theory that these swifts are actually flying from the various sites around the East Midlands to Rutland Water, which, like Lough Neagh, is a large body of fresh water which is still packed full of insects. So could it be that in the short term, when we are trying to conserve swifts, I mean, obviously in the longer term we need insects back everywhere, but if you're going to put up swift nesting boxes and concentrate on doing that, perhaps doing it near large bodies of highly productive fresh water might be the answer. And Belfast, I should add, is the OSPB's first swift city.
We really need to know more about swifts, don't we? Because the more you know, the more you love something, the more you want to protect it. And this week, in fact, from Saturday, there's Swift Awareness Week. And there's so many things going on, and you can learn about swifts, and you can learn, well, you can get your nest boxes and all that sort of thing.
I'll tell you another thing you can do. There's an OSPB are doing a swift survey, and the details are available on our website. So if you see swifts at any stage next week, go via the website and help the OSPB map these so they can better conserve them.
Do you know, it's the first country in the world to ever have a Swift Awareness Week. I love it.
Yeah.
And not only that, from Monday, it's National Insect Week as well. And that's run every 2 years by the Royal Entomological, that's always a hard word to say, that one, isn't it? Entomological Society. And they are doing so many events. Just take a look at this map. This is on their website. Those are all the events that are going on where you can go along, you can learn about insects, you can get involved. So please check their website out because it is absolutely brilliant. Both of those things, both Swift Awareness Week and the National Insect Week, are both really worthy things. Take your kids along, get involved.
When we develop an interest in natural history, it can be different things which attract it. It could be that the animals are fascinating, that they are difficult to understand, they're difficult to reach, or sometimes it's just that they look really nice. In fact, they're cute, they've got big eyes and big whiskers, and Patrick's been getting to grips with perhaps the cutest animal in the UK.
Now, yesterday, you may remember we spent some time looking at the latest figures from the recently published mammal report. Now, on that report, a certain animal was featured, and that animal was hazel dormouse. And I've got to say, it's a character that is utterly adorable, and it's clear to see why. With its soft hazel or caramel-coloured fur, hazel dormice measuring at around 8 centimetres long. 80% of that total length is taken up by their tail, the tip of which is covered in fur. Now, these are arboreal specialists, and these long tails are thought to help maintain their balance as they move amongst the trees. They're nocturnal animals, and they use their long whiskers to sense their environment. Sensational. But it's those big eyes that make them one of Britain's most adorable animals. Now, unfortunately, they are listed as vulnerable to extinction, and this graph illustrates the extent to which their numbers have fallen. Since the year 2000 alone, their numbers have been slashed by a third, and this is thought to be due to a loss of their woodland and hedgerow habitat, which, of course, is vital for their survival. However, help is at hand. The People's Trust for Endangered Species, alongside a number of other wildlife organisations, are working to release breeding pairs of dormice into the wild, and today marked a milestone. Let's have a look here. 39 captive dormice were released in Warwickshire, in a secret woodland location, I should say. But first they were taken to Paynton Zoo for some health checks to make sure that they were fit and healthy. We can see them there, making sure they're disease-free. And then they were eventually transported back to the release site. Now, earlier on, I joined PTES officer Ian White to witness the momentous occasion. Okay, so this is a new home for our dormice, Ian.
In the short term, this is a soft release cage, so what we do is this is where we allow dormice to kind of familiarise themselves with the woodland. We put them in here for 10 days where they're provided food and water, and then there's a small opening around here that we open the hole, and then dormice are free to come and go, but we've always got someone to provide food for them. And the idea is that this will allow them to settle into this woodland by using this cage.
Now, why is it important for them to acclimatise to this woodland? I mean, they're arboreal specialists after all.
The dormice were released in a captive bred, so they're not kind of streetwise really. So it's actually really useful to kind of allow them to settle into the woodland and get used to the sights and sounds and smells of the woodland before they're kind of free to come and go, and gives them a safe haven to come back into as well if they need it.
It looks a bit unfurnished.
It looks a bit dull, doesn't it?
So what are we going to put inside?
We're just going to give them some food and actually a tray of water as well, so they should be well and happy in the new home for the next few days.
Okay, nice. Well, I've got some hazel here, so should we pop
that can go in a cage, and I say dormice are an arboreal animal, so actually put this in to kind of give them something to climb on.
What's so important about this particular location that makes it ideal for the dormouse?
What dormice are, they're actually a species that kind of like woodland edge or coppice woodland, which is where you cut down trees, usually hazel, and then grows back up again. And as part of that growing back up again, we'll have a lot of bramble coming through, you'll have young hazel coming through. It provides a nice network for dormice to run around, and it provides a range of food sources for them. So yeah, well-managed woodland is actually ideal for dormice.
We are missing some inhabitants. Should we get them in here?
Let's go and get some.
You know, Ian, I can't believe that there are dormice inside these boxes.
I know, well, this is a very rare mammal.
What, a male and a female?
Yeah, you got the male and over the female. And hopefully they'll settle nicely into their new home, and we'll see some babies later on in the year.
Fantastic. Ian, they're one of a number of dedicated people working to boost the population of the hazel dormouse. Now, those dormice that you saw there in that video, in that film, the latches are open, they're out of those smaller boxes, and they're happily exploring their new homes. This is the third release in Warwickshire, following two earlier releases in 2009 and 2017. The hope is that each of these populations will grow sufficiently such that each of the different clusters will grow and merge into one community. So far, dormice have been released in 12 counties where they were previously extinct. Nearly 900 individuals have been released in the UK so far. I've got to say, it's a phenomenal effort to restore the nation to a hazel dormouse haven. Chris and Michaela.
900 cute little mice put back into the UK. It's fabulous, isn't it? Come on, you've got to love a dormouse.
Well, I don't dislike a dormouse, I don't dislike any life, but they're not top of my pops, I have to say.
Why not?
Well, they sleep for about half the year, which is essentially pretty boring, to be quite honest with you, isn't it, really? You know, spending that much time in bed, don't get much done, do you, as a dormouse, to be honest with you? And also, you know, I've been forced to use the C word twice tonight. What the viewers at home didn't see when I was introducing the dormouse item was the gun that you had pressed into my lower back.
Stop it. Honestly, you don't have to be interested when you look that cute. I mean, come on.
I wouldn't know. I've never had that as an option.
It's our last show tonight, so I think we should, for the last time, celebrate a couple of our nests that, let's be honest, are pretty sexy. Let's start off with the long-eared owl nest. Now, this is when we first saw them, which was 16 days ago. Look how tiny those chicks are. We thought there were just two in the nest. There were three. 3 days ago, oh my goodness, how they've grown. Let's have a look at what they've been doing in the last 24 hours. There's just two of them there, but don't panic, it's not bad news. The largest one has decided to branch. And this is what they do at about this age. I mean, they're 18, 20 and 22 days old. So from about 22 days old, they'll start exploring their surroundings. They'll use their wings, they'll flap a bit, they'll flutter, they'll climb. They won't actually fly until they're about 30 to 40 days old, and they're independent by 60 days. And you can see the females coming in then, not feeding the larger one that's branching out, but feeding that smallest one. I think all three of them have done extremely well, and I think we've been really privileged to be able to see such a sexy nest.
It's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. Another nest we've been watching with a bird that's never going to be described as cute, only really big and bad, is the goshawk. Now, we started to look at this when it had 2 youngsters in the nest. Very sadly, one toppled out off the side. One of them is still surviving, stretching its feet. Look at that, most mean business, don't they? Look at it, absolutely fantastic. It looks like a little dinosaur, feathered dinosaur. So now it's several weeks old, it's able to feed for itself. The adult female is only coming in and dropping the food off, no longer needs to tear it up for this youngster. It's doing a perfectly good job itself. Still got quite a bit of down on it, but you can see the flight feathers coming through on the wing. It's got some of the very characteristic teardrop-shaped feathers on its breast. Still a bit clumsy, tripping over that sticky nest, but look at that. Oh, come on! That's a proper bird. That's what birds are really all about. Honestly, that female goshawk is really, really something. What's the future hold for the chick? Well, it's going to be in the nest for a few more weeks and then it will branch, as just like the owl. So it's trying to have a little flap at the moment. Look, when it gets a little bit more competent, it will start hopping around in the tree, gradually improving its flying skills. The adults will continue to look after it for at least 4 to 6 weeks after it fledges, bringing it food, but during the space of that time, it will be learning to hunt for itself, and then it will become one of the most impressive predators that we have in the UK, an avian terminator, and it will be gobbling up dormice as fast as it can find them.
Do you know, I watched that chick though, and I go, get away from the edge, stand away from the edge, keep
I know,
away.
it's still quite clumsy, aren't they?
But as I say, we've been very lucky to have both of those nests. Now, spiders, you either love them or you hate them. But I can guarantee you that after you've watched this amazing film about arachnids, you are not only going to find them fascinating, but you're going to be full of respect for them.
Spiders, the silk spinners. They weave and work intricate webs in the hope of catching prey. Each web is beautiful and deadly in its design. But there are an elite few who don't hunt with webs at all. Meet 3 garden dwellers whose silk has another part to play. Amongst the flower-top canopy lie crab spiders, using delicate threads of silk to move from petal to petal. Silk is their lifeline up here as they search for the perfect penthouse spot to catch their prey. For crab spiders have a simple hunting strategy. A mix of patience and camouflage is all they need. Down on the ground, life moves at a faster pace. And her precious silk is used for a complete cargo. A drop of liquid is excreted onto the sheet, into which she injects her fertilized eggs. After several weeks, but perhaps the most extraordinary use of silk is not found on land at all. The diving bell spider. It carries an air supply on its abdomen through which it breathes, allowing it to prowl underwater looking for prey. But it can't eat when it's surrounded by water. So it starts to weave a web between the leaves of underwater plants. Once complete, it swims to the surface. Where air bubbles are trapped by fine hairs on the spider's body. The air is transported back to its underwater web, where it's trapped by the silken threads. The spider now has its very own bubble house, or diving bell, with enough air for 24 hours, and a place to devour its prey.
What an animal, the diving bell spider.
So
My
cool.
favourite.
I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? I used to have the Ladybird Book of Pond Life when I was a kid, and there was a picture of one of those in there. I could hardly believe it. It was years before I got to see one, but they are remarkable, absolutely remarkable. We're going to have a quick roundup now. Here is the UK, and we're going to put on some conservation successes and some recent sightings. Gillian, why don't you kick us off?
Well, okay. I started up here in Shetland 2 days after we finished filming. These showed up orcas.
Oh, missed it by 2
They
days.
teased us. They came within 20 miles of us when we were there. But yes, it was 2 days after we left, and this was the footage that they got from there.
They usually say you should have been here yesterday.
I
you should
know.
have been there tomorrow.
It was,
eh?
yeah, I should have been there tomorrow. Another creature that showed up a few days after we left was this, and this is quite incredible. This is a walrus. This is an animal that is a real specialist of the high Arctic. To find it this far south is really quite rare. I think the last sighting was in 2013, so a real special sighting indeed.
Fantastic. I'd love to have seen a walrus.
Oh,
I know, and
they're
I
just such
missed it.
extraordinary animals.
Come on.
Do you want some more good news? Because I'm going to give you more good news, because I am the good news person here. It's up in the Orkneys, and it's white-tailed sea eagles. Now, they only reappeared in the Orkneys about 5 years ago after an absence of 95 years. There's been pairs there. They've attempted to nest. They haven't been successful until this year. It's the first time in 145 years that we've had successful breeding, and a chick has hatched. So fingers crossed we get a sea eagle back in Orkney, a little baby.
Rathlin Island, off the northern coast of Northern Ireland here, has said hello to the corncrake, which disappeared in 1989, but thankfully the locals and visitors to the island are bringing stinging nettles. They've grown beds of stinging nettles there to encourage the birds. My mate Dara was out there the other day bringing his own stinging nettles. You heard these things called, and they think they're breeding for the first time. Then, of course, there's our Godwit project, which is over here on the Ouse and Neen washes. They released some birds last year. They migrated all the way south to Africa, came back this year, paired up. They bred successfully in their first year, which is truly fantastic. And then a bit of a vagrant in Pembrokeshire down here. Currently, there is a green heron, which has come all the way from North America. What's interesting about these green herons is they actually use tools in the form of other organisms. Sometimes they'll catch a spider, not kill it, hold it in their bill, hold it just above the surface of the water to tempt a fish to come up to take the spider, and then the heron drops the spider and grabs the fish. What about that?
Cool
Smart
behaviour,
cookies.
not bad.
Smart.
Well, ending right in the south here, this is quite an exciting one. Last autumn, I visited the Cornwall Beaver Project. In previous summer, they'd released this pair, a male-female pair of Eurasian beavers, into an enclosure on Wood Lane Banley Farm. And these are the kits. They were sighted 2 days ago, and these are the very first shots of those baby beavers. I have to say, I feel like a little bit of a proud auntie announcing this news, but the true credit goes to the Cornwall Wildlife Trust and Chris Jones, the farmer there.
Are you getting maternal over a beaver?
Yeah, I get a bit clucky.
Good news about the cuckoos. Now, we know that they've put tags on another 10 cuckoos that are leaving Hampshire, the New Forest area, and heading to Africa. And Chris named one of them Bowie. And I'm pleased to say it's already started its journey. Here it goes, flap, 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 flap. And it's down around there in France, still heading south. And you can check out all the details on the BTO website, and you can follow the progress of all the 10 cuckoos and the other ones that they tagged before then as well.
That's a fantastic project, but one that excites me just as much is this. If you were watching Springwatch 2 years ago, you'll know that we put a tag on a young golden eagle up here in Scotland. Cast your mind back to the summer of 2016. We were watching this little bird in the nest. Now, we first started looking at it when it was 5 days old. We followed it through till it was 5 weeks. It was being tended by a mother that was breeding in its 3rd year, had successfully reared them before. It grew very well in the nest. We were able to see all the prey that was coming in. It was an extraordinary treat. And then we went up to tag the bird. And onto its back, we put a highly reliable, non-intrusive satellite tag. And you can see it there. I had the privilege of going along with David Anderson from Forestry Commission Scotland. This is a project they've been running for the last 30 years. Very important to understand the ecology of these birds, how they use the habitat, because there's all sorts of restoration plans in progress there from the Forestry Commission. Off the bird went. And I'm very pleased to say that we have been able to track that ever since. Now, first, I've got to say it didn't move very much at all. It stayed within its natal territory. And this is typical of what golden eagles do. They hang around until the parents eventually kick them out. But since then, it's been on an extraordinary journey. And if you look at the map here, so the tag was put on down here, and each of these red spots indicates one or a number of the pings that the tag has given off over the rest of that time. And you can see that the eagle's been moving over an extraordinary area. We've calculated that it's covered as much as 20% of Scotland, more than 16,000 square kilometres. It's been right up here in the northeast. We lost a few nights' sleep when it went up there, I've got to say, but then it's come back down here. It's even been all the way down the peninsula. Why is she roaming around like this? Well, she's looking for a territory where she might one day be able to breed herself. Young eagles like this need to find a vacant territory, or they need to find a territory where they can fight and oust the female that's present there. She's only 2 at the moment, so it could be another couple of years before she finds her own territory, and hopefully that tag will continue to work and we'll get to see her rearing her own young. Freya, you called her. That was the name that was given to that eagle.
Isn't it great to end up on so many good stories? And of course, Patrick, your almost story was good too, wasn't it?
Yeah, great story, and of course a privilege to have been there in person.
I think we should catch up on our live cameras because, in fact, do you know, we've only got 3 nests left. We've had 19 nests that we've had live cameras on. We've had 66 chicks fledge, 18 predated, 1 unknown, which is the blackbird that's still in the owl, with the owl. And we've had 1 that died that we didn't know why, which was the chaffinch. So we've got 3 nests left. Let's have a quick look at the blackcaps. Now, these are our youngest chicks that we've got left. 3 days old. There are 4 of them in there, and hopefully they're all going to do well. They're all going to fledge, and they're all going to live a very happy life.
Well, I've got to say, I've been looking forward to doing a nest camera. We're going to look at the robins. And here they are. These are 5 chicks in the nest. They're about 7 days old, and they're likely to fledge within a week. They're down by the boathouse, and they are absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a gamble now. Should we go live to the barn? What have we got in the barn?
Oh, no.
Come on, we need to know. We can't hide from the truth. There's the owl's nest. That owl has been in and out throughout the course of the programme. If we cut inside, you can see the chicks are there, but there's no sign of the adult. So the adult has been outside. This is what we've seen. So since we've been on air, the adult owl has been outside in the yard. There she is, or he is, on top of the wall, being dive-bombed by one of those adult blackbirds. Let's go now live, because one of our cameras is on the adult blackbird, the male, alarm calling there. So it's still putting up, there's the female. So they're both on guard. They're working incredibly hard to protect that youngster.
They really are, aren't they?
They really are. No sign of it. So they're obviously clearly keeping a very close eye on the owl.
Look, I think that's all we can watch, quite frankly.
Oh my goodness
Just a final thing before we say goodbye. Someone knitted you a tree slug. They didn't quite do the jumper, but they did the tree slug. That's brought us to the end of what has been such a great series. I mean, there's been drama, there's been emotion. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as ever, the wildlife has written the stories, and we've had the privilege to watch them. And these are stories that go on every spring in our gardens, in our countryside, and in our cities.
Yes, nature is mind-blowing, mind-boggling, and absolutely amazing. It's been incredible to travel this country to see the variety of wildlife here, and a privilege to bring it to your screens.
Massive thanks to everyone from the National Trust here at Sherborne Park. Both the staff and all of the volunteers have made us most welcome. And of course to all of the villagers too. Their hospitality has been unbounded. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you to all of our guest presenters that we've had. We've had Steve, Yolo, Lucy, and to you, Patrick, as well. Thanks for coming along.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been an awesome week. I've had a blast.
Excellent stuff. Well, we'll be back for Autumn Watch, but it's going to be Autumn Watch with a difference, I can tell you. Yes, this year, in a special one-off, we're travelling across the Atlantic to New England to celebrate one of the world's greatest seasonal spectacles. Yes, the North American Fall. Billions of trees erupt in a riot of colour in New England's northeastern forest, and we're going to be there to bring you all of the wildlife stories behind this phenomenon. So do join us on October the 15th here on BBC Two. That's going to be great.
It's going to be fab, and we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to seeing you for Autumn Watch. We've had a great time. We hope you've had a great time watching us. We've been here for a year. There have been many highlights. Here are just some of them.
Our year in the countryside started last spring with a deluge of drama and a festival of raptors.
As summer gave way to autumn, Sherborne continued to dazzle.
And winter didn't disappoint either. Now we've come full circle.
It's great to be back. As usual, we've got a packed star cast.
It's going to be gargantuan. Welcome to Springwatch.
It is an absolutely stunning bird. Majestic. Absolutely majestic.
There's always a predator around the corner. You know, it sends a shiver down your spine.
It has been a pleasure.
We have a legislator on today. Completely the wrong way. 4,000 acres.
It's been amazing. My heart's been thumping. We've been watching this for the last 10 minutes.
An owl pyramid live on TV. Thank you very much.
That is extraordinary behaviour.
That's what you pay your licence fee for.
And the suspense doesn't end there.
What a slug. What a slug. What a slug. What can I say?